All right, it's another time and welcome to today's edition of our cybersecurity mentoring group, where we share, we learn, and we connect. Thanks everyone for joining. I missed the time. I was supposed to start this meeting, the time on the calendar was supposed to be 7 p.m. I forgot that time has changed in my location, so I'm starting out of another session that I just rushed off facilitating, but it's all good. We will definitely have a good time, and thanks everyone for making time again to join for this first edition in November. We have an interesting conversation. In fact, it's the first of having discussion around the dark web, the places where people should not go, and some people are going there. We want to find out what exactly they are looking for, and we've brought in an expert in that area. And if we follow one another on LinkedIn, I think I shared that the person I brought today, I met him the first time in my CCNA class in 2007, somewhere in Surulere, Adeniran Ogunsanyo, I think. Yeah, we're in the same class trying to learn CCNA together. And we met then, we clicked, and we've been friends since 2007. I think around 2014 or thereabout, he became my consultant when I was working with InterSwitch, when we were trying to certify to ISO 27001, and I think you guys came to do VAPT, right? I remember then. So we've shared quite a, is a long. In fact, before the session, I wanted to do some apropos catching up, but we couldn't because of the time, and so we will just be doing having our conversation on the meeting. But before we start the session proper, we go through some some basic information and for awareness. In case you are joining us for the first time, we've been having this session, and you can see on the right hand side individuals that we have invited in the past, and you can find the recording on our YouTube page. So if you go there, you'll find all of the videos that we've recorded for sessions like this. On the left-hand side, we have a cybersecurity skills, competencies, and certification. It's a publication we made in 2023 where we looked at jobs, cybersecurity jobs, and we try to look for the jobs that employers are really advertising. We looked at the skills, the competencies, and the certifications that are required. So in that publication, you will find the top 20 jobs based on frequency of occurrence, and you will find the top certifications. You also find the top cybersecurity tools, top cybersecurity framework that we found common in most of the jobs we analyze. The second edition, we've done the collation of the data. It is currently being analyzed, and hopefully we want to share that this November or early December. What we want to do is just to check again and see if things have changed. As our employers looking for different skills or different competencies or different certifications compared to last year. The next one is cyber researcher. These are individuals that would like to hone their skills by volunteering to take up assignments and then share with everyone. We also have cyber scribes, individuals that would like to help us make documentation and summarize the meeting so that we can share along with the video. These are opportunities for you to, claim some skills in case it is something that you are interested. You can get across, and I would schedule you for one of these sessions. Today, so I think I documented your profile, but it was too long for me to read. So I've shared a little about our meeting and the things that you've been doing. And also, just to mention, I think I need to share that information. Yemi is an author. So we're not just talking to someone who wants to come and tell us practical. He also has some theoretical background, and so he authored a book, The Internet and You, 101 Rules of Engagement, My Computer and I. Yemi is a member of Cybersecurity Expert Association of Nigeria, member of Information Security Society of Africa, Nigeria, and is a CEH ambassador. CEH, you know CEH, so I can't tell you more about it. So much of your profile, Yemi. You will forgive me that I can't read on everything, but I will just go through a section that I think will be important for people to hear about. Yemi is a technocrat and well-grounded in the field of information security, information and cybersecurity management, ethical hacking, penetration testing, incident management and response, risk management, cyber insurance management, IT security infrastructure, policy, procedure development, business continuity, system audit, web application and database security, payment card, that's PCI, related cybercrime, forensic investigation, and other areas. Yemi has worked and led projects across multiple organizations in Nigeria, Central Bank of Nigeria, Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, Lead Assurance, Access Bank, InterSwitch, Main One, countless. So Yemi has experience across different industry, leading what we are going to be discussing today. Yemi is certified PCI DSS, ISO 27001, 22301, and 27035. Yemi, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Wale Makai. Wow, what a long year. This is close to about, from what you said, I mean, our first training in Cisco, this close to about over 15 years. I mean,
yeah, it is. Yes, I think it's exactly 17 years, really.
What a long time.
Yeah, it
and
is.
That's to tell you the passion. I mean, let me firstly say thank you so much for inviting me for your session. And, I'm not taking this for granted. I must commend your effort on so much, you're putting into this to create awareness, to share knowledge, and to help the community to grow and to develop and to be able to find opportunities in the domain. I mean, let me put it that way. Okay, all right. So I mean, you have said it all. I mean, so much you have said about my profile. So what else do I want to say again?
So I want to then ask you. So because your profile again, you can check Yemi up on LinkedIn. At least you will have more information about it. But I just want to ask you, maybe some introduction to just provide context into your experience and qualification, and let me combine question 1 and 2 together. So your experience, your qualification, and how you found yourself in cybersecurity, particularly this dark area that you have decided to focus on.
All right, thank you so much, Wale. All right, I think I will start this way. Yemi Ademiluyi graduated from University of Lagos as an educator. When I mean educator, from Faculty of Education, University of Lagos, and proceeded for my postgraduate diploma from Ladoke Akitola University, and then my MBA. And shortly after that, I attended Institute of Information Security, India, where I studied ethical hacking, cyber forensic, and penetration testing. And then also to complement the skill set, I've done a couple of training from Lagos Business School, Ghana, from Lagos Business School, Nigeria, and also a data privacy and technology training from Harvard Online University. And then in addition to that, I mean, I've gotten some couple of certifications, both technical and then, operational certification around best practices, and then, around technical controls management, around security assessment and audit. In addition to that, I mean, like you said, I've authored 2 books. That's one is the Internet and You, which provide 101 rules of engagement. So what that means is that it guides the internet user and it provides the rules. What are the things that you do? What are the things that you don't do, so that you don't fall victim of cyber criminals or data breaches. Then also on the other side is the My Computer and I. So the My Computer and I was actually a result, a product of my technical skills while I was working as system engineer. Because there's always a foundation, there's always a starting point. So after school, I got a job as a system engineer from one of the oldest IT companies, also along Surulere Ogunlano Drive, to be precise. The name of the company, Information Security Management, resources. So I worked there for about 8 years. Or 9 years. So that is why I actually got my hand dirty. That was where I actually built my foundational knowledge. I actually developed my structure technically. Because if you tell me then, I can pieces even up to now, pieces a data center, apart and then come back after some hours, put them together. So I understand all the cabling, all the hardware, all the software, the applications are, the entire system. So this I worked for them for over 8 years, where I joined them as system engineer, and then I left the company as senior support engineer, the head of IT, and then shortly after that, I joined one of the best consulting firm, information security consulting firm in Nigeria, where I actually work as information security consultant, where I was opportune to support different projects. And I think this is where you mentioned where I was privileged to work with your company, InterSwitch.
What's the name of that company, please?
Okay, yeah, Digital Jewels, one of the best. We're part of what are those skill set that we gathered there that is actually championing us to still be relevant in the industry today. So apart from InterSwitch, in fact, before joining Digital Jewels, while I was formerly working with HIML for 8 years, I've supported different projects, different organizations, the big four, then going there to support their IT, even the CBN, the banks, the government agency, the parastatals, trying to ensure that their IT work tools are working very well, helping them with their maintenance, also facilitating some training in some aspects just to ensure that their operations are top notch. Then in Digital Jewels, I consulted there, worked for a lot of banks in Nigeria, in Ghana, also supported different government agencies, just to help them to rebuild, identify gaps, restructure their control process, also help them to identify vulnerabilities, and then recommend the best practice on how to help them to mitigate any form of breaches or even any form of attack or any form of insider threat. So this I did for a couple of years with Digital Jewels. So then I was working, supporting organization in Nigeria and also in Ghana then, so where I was supporting banks, in meeting the ISO certification and also the PCI DSS. So this was just few sometime. And then I proceeded from there. I joined another company, one of the biggest system integration company in Nigeria, Inlax, where I worked there as cybersecurity manager. So I was there for quite some time, for just close to about 2 years, where I supported them to actually develop a cybersecurity department and also help them to also achieve ISO certification. And then thereafter, I moved again. I moved to a company called in Dubai, where I work as a senior security architect. I actually supported one of the biggest bank in Dubai, which is Emirates National Bank. So I was asked to the company to support the bank in ensuring that they identify and also enhance their security posture. So I was there for also quite some time before finally now I moved from Dubai. I'm now in Qatar, where I work as a senior cybersecurity manager for one of the biggest oil and gas, petrochemical company here in Qatar. I think that's just brief.
Excellent. You know why I'm laughing? Oil money, oil money, oil money. but I'm coming to, so unfortunately we didn't meet in school, right? We didn't meet in school. You said you studied education, right? Again, I think our interaction showed in your way of passing knowledge across. How did you, so you studied, you got a BEd, and you went to all of those MBA, India. How did you get to choose cybersecurity? How did you then get to become, because you said you got into a company and you became system engineer. How did that, what's that transition like?
Thank you so much for that question, Wale. Actually, when things are going to happen, God has a way of things working. I finished from university. I mean, I finished from secondary school. Then I was waiting for my university admission, but it wasn't coming through. So a friend of my mom came around, and he said instead of me, I mean, just jumping around with friends, my mom should admit me to a computer school. And when my mom told me about this, I felt very bad. In fact, I was really angry with the man who said so. That, I mean, he should have just left me to be enjoying myself. Why compelling me to go to a computer school? And that was just all about it. So, to cut the long story short, I started as a computer teacher. From the computer school, I finished. And then this was back 1997. So you can imagine me having a certificate in 1997 on diploma in computer studies. That's to tell you I'm supposed to be beget of wherever you see it, I mean, or wherever country you want to mention it. But to God be the glory. That was how I started. But again, my admission process was for me to do computer science. But to God will have it, I found myself in education. And then, I was encouraged, I was motivated to continue that maybe after some years, I can change. But in between, after my 1 year, 2 years trying to change, it didn't really work. And I had to continue. And I'm like, wow, is this what I'm going to be doing? But again, I was liking what I was doing because, I was having some inputs, the lecturers, they liked my approach and everything. But meanwhile, the cap of the computer tech in me did not go away because I discovered that even during the holiday, I go back to do some aspect of computing. So immediately after I graduated and I went for my youth corps service, I still wore this cap. In fact, I served in Kano State, and before I left, I was able to train over 30 students on diploma in computer studies, and I was able to award them with the support of the government and the principal of the school. So this cap I still wore. So after my graduation, when I returned back to Nigeria, I mean to Lagos, I felt that this is in me. I have so much knowledge, and then I need to really put in what I need to do to really to move to the next level. Then I started working with my IT, building computers, installing, and then the movement from IT to security now. I think it actually happened when I was working with my first company, which I spent 8 years with. I took some of my team to a particular hospital to support them. And then a funny thing happened in that hospital. The MD of the hospital was scammed. So they took over the MD's email, and then they use his email address to facilitate some malicious request. And then, the MD spoke to different people and like, wow, okay, who is the first suspect? So he said the IT complaint that they were actually dealing with then. And I led the team. So it came to me and like, wow, what is going on? And then they said this case was reported to the law enforcement agency. And I went through the process, I mean, because we were so plain. And I saw the dimension, how the whole thing went. I'm like, wow, this is a very interesting area for me, which I feel I'm also interested because I'm being driven by passion. I went into IT because of the passion I have for it. And then when I saw that, okay, so this aspect is also security. Wow. So where you have to analyze, where you have to investigate, where you can actually detect a crime. So I started taking interest. And then lo, And behold, I remember I also got an email. I've been phished before. I've been scammed before. So that's why also, again, I took it that wherever I find myself, I will ensure I create a bad market for the cyber criminal. So I was scammed before many years ago. I got an email that I'll be coming to Canada, everything paid for. I just need to pay this money. And I paid. And then, was waiting, nothing came. And then when I reached out to them, they told me I have to pay another money because they didn't see that. Like, wow, so this is still part of it. Okay. So that was why I took another cap in information security. And, my traveling to India was really a big eye opener to me because in India, I saw a lot of things. I mean, for you to catch the thief, you need to understand what is their modus operandi. You need to understand their tactics, their techniques. You need to understand their ways of life. So going to India really exposes me to really ethical hacking, penetration testing, phishing, and the rest of them. So coming back to Nigeria, I took it up. I was trying to set up an information security department for my IT company, but because of different interests of the top management, so I had to take a bow to join an information security company, which is Digital Jewels, to actually help me to drive my passion, and that was my transition to Digital Jewels.
Excellent. Thank you for that very, very educative journey. I think you have clearly shown that if there's a connection between your discipline and what you are currently doing. So you studied education, or you read a discipline in education, and then you started teaching computer. And I think that was really a good stepping stone into the industry. And thank God for that, your uncle that forced you to go and learn computer studies. All right, so let's get into the conversation. And it is this conversation around the dark web. So a lot of people have heard, and they just know that there's a dark web. What exactly? So we're talking today about dark web. We're talking about breach repositories. What exactly is dark web? Where is this dark web? And just break it down to us as if we're in the class and you are letting us know what exactly is dark web.
All right, Wale. The dark web is really a very huge community, a very huge part of the internet. So today, a lot of us are familiar with the internet, but most times, most of us, we scratch the surfaces. And then when you talk about the dark web, is actually a part of the internet. So in the internet itself, you have different layers. One of the layers is the dark web. Another layer is the deep web. Then also you have the surface web. So the surface web takes just about 4% of the entire internet part. Okay. The deep web itself takes about 90%. And then the dark web, take about 6%. So the dark web is also a subset of the deep web. So that's why today, when you talk about the ecosystem, you're talking about all these different layers of the aspect of the internet. So talking about the surface web is what you and I, or most people, are familiar with. You want to go to the internet, you want to do researches, you want to browse, you want to download materials. It takes you to Google, you go to different websites. So this part of the internet is actually called the surface web. And this is just 4%. So it's just like a scratch of the entire internet itself. So this particular side of the internet, you don't need too many encryption or authorization. With your browser, you can actually connect to it. But when you come down to the deep web itself is what I said has about 90%. And then the dark web has about 6%. So let me take you through the 6% of the dark web, and I'll just throw more light on the deep web. Now, when you talk about the dark web, it's just like our general knowledge of dark markets. So this is darkest of the part of the internet where a lot of things are happening. malicious activities, illegal activities, product and services are happening. But this side of internet is not exposed or not accessible to everyone because it requires some form of tools, applications, algorithm, or cryptography or encryption to be able to access. And it's been difficult to access because of the caliber of things that happen there. So in this dark web, this is where you see a lot of illicit activity. This is where you see a lot of unwanted, products and services that you cannot come online to sell or to promote. So, an example of it is that when you're looking for, maybe you want to hire an ethical hacker or a hacker to bring down an organization, this is the part of the internet where you can go and you can hire, an hacker, or you even hire a cyber criminal, or you hire an assassin. Okay, so this part of the internet is a place that has been censored. So you require a special tool, you require a special application to be able to browse and to be able to communicate in this particular part of the internet. Now, this is not just about you hiring an hacker, but there are so many things you can actually get in this particular side of the web. You can get people who deals with drugs, who deals with weapons, who deals with maybe pornographies. You can get people who deals with who sell data, who sells bank authentication or account or credentials or information. You can get all sort of information there. You can also get stolen passport, visa, just mention it. So these are the kind of things that are happening in the dark web, and that is why it's not exposed to everyone to access, because it's a very dangerous place. And then the reason why you see professionals, intelligence people going there is that there's this popular saying that if you want to catch a thief, you have to think like one. So there's no how you can extend your control to something you don't know. And that's why today you see law enforcement, you see the FBI, you see the security personnel, you see the threat intel agents and organization. They go to the dark web just for them to be able to know what is going on, and then for them to help the organization or even help their client to stay safe. Then quickly on the deep web. So the deep web has, the large part, and then this is where you have information records about or medical records, financial record, government record, all these records that are not supposed to be exposed, that probably or high censorship of highly sensitivity. This is where you get it under the deep web. And like I said, the dark web is just like an extension of the deep web, but you require different controls, authorization tools to be able to access this. So these two areas are far different from what you get from the surface web, which you and I are able to communicate today.
Thank you. Thanks for this information. So really, all of our interaction, so our current engagement is happening over the surface web. And there's a lot more happening that many people are not aware of. That's interesting. Now, the question I have is around, so the dark web is a place, so it exists, and it is not easily accessible to everyone. So you need some kind of protocols, you need some kind of access. Are these means of accessing them, are they something that anybody can really have access to, or there's some censorship that you have to go through before you can have access to the dark web?
All right. That was a very wonderful question. So when you talk about the dark web itself, you need some special tools. For instance, the surface web, you can easily access it because these are legitimate registered websites that are recognized globally on the surface with a domain that ends with .org, .com, .net. But when you talk about the dark web domain is different from what you see from the surface. So a combination of the URL in the dark web domain is a combination of character, symbols, and words with .onion extension. So even if you put this on the surface web, it will take you nowhere because it doesn't recognize it. So without the special software, without the special protocol, without the right authentication, you cannot connect to that particular part of the internet. So you need that particular protocol to be recognized in the internet before it can take you to that particular part of the web where you can be able to gain access, to be able to see, or to be able to buy, or to be able to download, or to be able to communicate. The same way you and I are communicating now, we are communicating via Zoom and Zoom.us, Zoom.uk, But in the dark web, if you come with a dark web address here, it's not going to be recognized because it doesn't have that protocol. So without that protocol, you can't. So it requires those special protocol. And like I told you, an example of the URL for a dark web or a dark net will be a combination of numbers, characters, and then alphabet. Then with a .onion extension. Then again, in terms of tools or browser where you can actually use to actually go to this particular site, most people use Tor. There's a network, they call it Onion Network, Tor. And then there are other ones too that you can use. Though, what I always tell people is that, the surface web is good enough for you to do everything you want to do. So don't think about going to the dark web, because going to the dark web, the word dark means that it's a dark room, it's a dark environment. You might think that you're going there to learn, and then they will use you as the topic for the learning. The environment is so bad, so dangerous that even if you're not careful, in the process of trying to get information, they might dig hand into your system and also hack you. And before you know it, they can use it against you and monitor you, monitor your activities, and then it could end up to something that you cannot handle. On the flip part, you also have a lot of law enforcement agencies who are actually in this underground web. We call them underground web, in the dark web. So what they are also doing is that they are monitoring the activities in that dark web, because they know that this is a website, this is an environment where malicious, dangerous, illicit things happen. So they come there. In fact, some threat intel organization, they come there to study, to monitor in case there's anything that is going to happen to their client, or maybe a name of their client is mentioned, or maybe information of their client is stolen. They quickly go into action. So when you talk about ransomware, ransom attack, a lot of discussion around this. They even sell tools that allow these cyber criminals to launch this type of attack. And also there they discuss about the negotiation, because ordinarily you cannot communicate with these guys. These are guys that they actually went there because of some form of anonymity. They want to be anonymous. They want to be anonymous. They want to protect their privacy. They want to be sure that they are hidden. Nobody is able to detect them. So they use some form of protocols that is actually very difficult for you to be able to trace or for you to be able to discover, unlike what you get here from the surface web.
Thank you, Yemi. You've educated us, but at the same time, you are making us scared. Now, I'm looking at the cybersecurity professionals who says they want to become cybersecurity professionals, they want to defend the organization, and then they are almost like defending the organization on the surface, because really the surface web is where everybody trade, or most people trade and most people are familiar with. It means that the things that will break the surface web is not in the surface, it's in the dark or in the deep web. Now, what do you think? What is your suggestions for, what are your suggestions for cybersecurity managers or cybersecurity professionals who prime themselves to be the defender of the organization? They know they are the first to know things, vulnerability and all those things. What should they do about the dark web?
All right, Wale, that's a very good question. Honestly, most of them are aware of the dark web. They are aware of the underground market. But however, they don't go there because it's very dangerous. They know it's very, very dangerous environment. And they don't also expect any of their staff to go there because they know that while they are in there, the bad guys can take advantage of whatever controls or whatever system they have. So rather they have organizations. So when you talk about these threat intel organizations, these are core part of what they do. This is the kind of services and product that they offer. So they have a lot of network in the dark web. They have a lot of tools that they also run, and they also use that platform to also identify new tools, to identify new malware, to identify new attack techniques, new attack patterns, and then to also help them to improve their services to organizations. For instance, there are some couple of organizations that provide these services, and they provide it as part of maybe security service operation. They also provide it as part of a managed service, provision for maybe the SOC service provider or even internet service providers. They provide this as form of services. So what they do is that instead of the staff or the cybersecurity manager or the CISO to go to the dark web and then go and carry trouble, they rather engage these organizations who are professionals, who understand the modus operandi in the dark web, who understand that they need to protect themselves, they need to have multiple layers of security controls, and also they also have to talk the language. Because if you go there, I mean, I'm just trying to look at a typical example now. It's just like you go to a mafia zone and you're not a mafia, you're going to be in trouble. So these guys, they have the heart of the mafia, they understand the mafia, and they go there. In fact, I think some times ago I was there, and unfortunately one of the sites I stumbled to, this site was actually taken over by FBI. So imagine that kind of something. And meanwhile, there are sometimes when you visit that site and you register there, and when things happen, they can come after you because they know that you're a customer in that particular group. You're a customer. In fact, a lot of things are happening because there's some certain malware, there's some certain authentication tool, there's some certain protocol, there's some certain remote access Trojan protocol that has been sold in the dark web, which through the credentials, through the user's account of those members of that group and people who have bought it before, the law enforcement agency, the FBI, has used that to track those people, and they're using it to pick them one after the other.
Thank you. I think you mentioned something very important, which is that there are organizations that are specialized in offering services who that's what they do. So what I hear you say is that cybersecurity professionals should actually maybe get the organization to speak to those organizations who can then provide that service to them instead of you going into the dark web and then cutting the web of the dark web. Yeah. All right. Okay. So now I think you have provided the fear is now maybe from 100% is now like 60%, but there's still something, right? Now, the dark web is known to be the repository of breaches in terms of it provides tools for potential hackers. It provides tools for criminals to go after organizations. Now, what do you think a cybersecurity professional can do? I haven't been aware that there's a dark web where information are being sold freely, whether in the dark or in the deep. What do you think they can do to strengthen the security environment of the organization?
All right, thank you so much, Wale. So when you talk about data breach repository, I mean, it's everywhere in the ecosystem. So these are repository that has all the hack or stolen credentials, I mean, that we and I have. For instance, a lot of organizations today, I mean, not a lot, some of the top organizations today have been a victim of data breaches. For instance, I can mention Yahoo, Facebook, Twitter, mention them, and then it continues and continues. You and I have been using this particular public email provider or services, even LinkedIn and the rest of them for quite some time. And then we have our credential, which we have logged in. When this organization were breached, a lot of data were taken away. My data, your data, and a lot of people's data were taken away. And then this data are being stolen. They are stolen from them, and then they are being sold in the underground market. So in the underground market, the data are there. People are selling and reselling. And then, because of the level, the real-time attack, because of the sophisticated level, many organizations, different countries have been hacked. And then, this repository become bigger and, heavily loaded with personal data and sensitive data. So those are the things that are actually the engine for the underground market. For those people who sell, sensitive data of people, and also sensitive data of banks, oil and gas, the self credentials, and the rest of them. So this has really enriched the market. So for managers, I'm sure a lot of them are aware, but for some who are not aware, they need to get a service. I mean, these providers, like if you have the internet service provider or the managed service provider or the SOC service provider, these guys, they understand that these are part of the things that they need to have as a service, which they need to extend to their customers to help them. And when you talk about the cyberspace, I told you are classified into 3 layers. So if you are just chasing the criminals on the surface and you're not going deep dark, understanding which area the criminal can use to attack you, then you're missing out. So a lot of the managed service provider, they offer these services because they already have, agents. They have, probably organizations they're also working with, which are giving them, services, also giving them information, intel about the happenings. And this is what they are using to strengthen their product and services. So if you ask me, the dark web has been there for quite a lot of time. The FBI, the security agencies are doing a lot to clamp down. In fact, just recently you will hear that about over 250 domains were shut down. And these are domains that they used to launch ransomware. These are domains that they used to launch distributed denial of service attack. These are domains that they used to run, they used to run phishing, they used to run spamware and the likes of malware and Trojans. So they're already there. And there are a lot of domains. When you talk about domains, millions of domains that have been acquired by these cyber criminals. And what they are using it to do is to launch all these type of attacks.
Thank you. Now, coming to professionals, right? And so your advice is that they should not be afraid, but just get the services of organizations that are dedicated to that kind of service to be able to help them. But I was also looking at where you think, so again, some organizations can afford those managed service providers, right? So the SOC service providers, some organizations, the banks can do that. The telcos can do that, the oil and gas can do that. But there are some organizations that can't afford that type of service. Are there things that security officers, knowing now that there are breaches, there are information about breaches everywhere or in the dark web or somewhere, are there things that they can do on the surface, right? So there are many websites that publishes domains that have been compromised or identities that have been compromised. Are there things they can do on the surface if, for instance, they can't for now afford the managed service providers, the SOC service provider? Are there things the cybersecurity managers or professionals can do on the surface to increase the maybe awareness or increase the defense of their organization against potential attack?
Yeah. I mean, to start from what you said about the cybersecurity manager of organization, if they are interested or if they are free to go to the dark web. I mean, if they have the right control, it's very, very important because information is power. So if they have the right control, the right protection, the right mechanism, and they feel that because it's one of the ways to actually build and improve their intelligence. So they can go there time to time to study, to understand what is happening there, and then to help them to fortify their environment, also improve. Because there in the dark web, they talk about the new attack tactics, the new attack patterns, the new tools. So obviously they can use that to actually improve their security controls. And this is what also these service providers are also doing. Okay, so for your question, for organizations who don't have too much resources, what can they do? There are open source Intel, platform online which you can actually subscribe to. One is OSINT, open source threat Intel. So with this OSINT, okay, and then once you use it, you can actually give you different links to different websites, okay, where you can gather as much information about organization, individual, also about tools. So also you also have some repository which are available online. For instance, there's a popular website called Have I Been Pwned? Have I Been Pwned is free website, is available online. In fact, I was mentioning that some of the domains or some of the social network or email provider you and I were using has been compromised before. Like a website like Have I Been Pwned can give you an insight and intelligence if your credential, your email address, your password is actually in the dark web or is actually in the underground market or not. So, for instance, you can actually check if your account has been hacked before, and then it will tell you which of that domain or which of that website was compromised to expose your credentials. So this is one of them. I remember recently I went to a website to check, and then they were referring me that sorry, we have been doing this for over some years, but we're no longer active any longer. But you can go to Have I Been Pwned. So Have I Been Pwned have millions of repository database of all this information. So it's a typical example. And so there's another website called The Hash. The Hash is also a very good platform where you can actually check this. But for security reason, I always tell people, even if you want to go to Have I Been Pwned, make sure you don't put your official email, put your public, your personal email to test, because the internet we are talking about today, the data breaches we are talking about today, is actually being run by our data. So if you continue to feed them, they begin to get it, and then they also begin to get intelligence about those things that you have and those things that are actually attached to you. And before you know it, it can fall into a wrong hand, and then they can use it against you. And we are in data privacy regime. This is privacy regime. This is the time of AI technology. AI, like I keep telling people, AI is not something special. AI sits and leverage on your data. It depends on how much of your data you have that the AI can actually get and actually give to people. But the risk to data privacy is very, very high. People are like, oh, we want new technology. But unfortunately, we have lose our gap long time ago, because all these data are the data that machine learning AI needs to leverage on to actually provide services and then to actually complete a task. And then if this gets to a wrong hand, they can use it maliciously, and then it can be very, very risky to life.
Thank you. Now, I think we have roughly about 5 to 7 minutes of 10 minutes. Yeah, it's a beautiful discussion that should be longer, actually. If you have questions, I'm seeing some questions, I'll come to them. But let me just finish. I think I have 2 more questions, and if you probably look at it in maybe 2 minutes per question, I think we'll have enough time for people to ask questions. My question is, some people are actually, so even though you have told people not to go to the dark web, some people are actually interested in it. And the question is, I like a career in that path. So from the domains of information security or cybersecurity, which part leads me to the dark web? Which path do I need to follow that if I follow this path, I can understand better about the dark web and potentially maybe work for a managed service organization that's providing those services to the organizations?
Yeah, that was a very good question. Honestly, for you to catch a thief, you have to think like one. And then you can never extend controls or security to things that you don't know that exist. So, I mean, it's highly recommendable for people to actually learn about it so that they can use it to strengthen their control. So, there are a lot of trainings, a lot of certifications which you can actually do to empower yourself. And when you talk about the dark web, understanding what is going on there, building yourself, you see, it's all about threat intel. When you talk about threat intel, means that you want to gain intelligence into what is happening here, not to use it as bad, but to use it to improve your security. So there are some certain training you can do, and then you have training from this training provider. For instance, we have some free training with Coursera, okay, on dark web. You have some free training with LinkedIn. You have some free training on Udemy, where you can do, where you can learn about the dark web. However, if you really want to really step up your games, you want to, fit in or connect yourself to one part of the cybersecurity domain, you can think of becoming a certified threat intelligence analyst or maybe a certified threat intelligence engineer. These are some of the training. You can also decide to do a training on a certified dark web analyst. Okay. Also, the certified ethical hacking training and certification also actually cover some areas of the dark web where you have an understanding of the dark web. Do you learn about all the various tools you can use to access the dark web, and then all the illegitimate activities in the dark web. The reason why you see a lot of people going to the dark web is that maybe probably they are looking for some things that they are unable to see in the surface. So they need that special thing. So it depends on them. Though for me, from what I've seen so far, it's not everything on the dark web that is actually dark. But at the same time, there are still some things that you're going to learn. But most of the things in that environment, you have to be very, very cautious. So very, very important. So
Yeah.
you have some training from EC Council. EC Council provide training on EC Council Certified Network Defender. It also addresses some area of dark web. Then SANS also offer a training around that side too, which you can actually study to have knowledge on how, what, and what are those things that can help you to improve your cybersecurity skill set.
Thank you. My last question, and thank you for working with that. My last question is around professional development. So cybersecurity professionals, from time to time, they see quite, a lot of materials, a lot of things, and sometimes it becomes information overload, right? Some do not know where exactly to go look for materials, and especially because of the currency FX rates, affordability is also a problem. I'm looking at, are there free opportunities where people can actually find training, good training, right? I know that it costs a lot, but are there free trainings that people can leverage to develop themselves, whether cybersecurity generally or for this area of the dark web or penetration testing or ethical hacking and all of that? Are there such that you could recommend?
Honestly, there are a lot of them that I can recommend. I mean, just like I mentioned, you have the likes of maybe the EC Council, the Science Institute, the Computia, you know. But again, let me just name a few. But today, I like to tell people that the best and the biggest university or institute where you can learn is actually the internet. The internet. I mean, this is something I've been able to learn over the years. I mean, I told you, apart from the physical interaction, things I saw myself when I travel out to India, to do my ethical hacking and information security training. In fact, I would say that 70% of what I learned, if I have the knowledge that this thing is available in the internet through YouTube, through broadcast, I mean, maybe probably I wouldn't have made that journey. But again, maybe I don't know. I mean, people feel that the YouTube, I must tell you that YouTube is actually one of the biggest university. And a lot of people today, they are doing all they do very well. confidently because of the skill set, because of the knowledge they have acquired from the YouTube. So I'm just saying this in case there is no fund. But if there is fund, I mean, it's good to be under a classroom, because sometimes, or most times, I like to have a one-on-one session. Most of my training, I prefer one-on-one session whereby I'll be able to interact, also get to interact with colleagues and also learn from them. So in case there's a lot of funds available for that, I mean, you have a lot of association, you have a lot of, I don't want to mention them, but maybe for knowledge sharing purpose, because
No,
I don't
please
want
go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't
Then,
want
so
to,
the
I don't want to
platform.
come here and start promoting, this for okay, but again,
It's
so
free.
you can do there are a lot of training you can do from Isaka, there are a lot of training you can do for ICS Square, there are a lot of training you can do from AC Council, there are a lot of training you can do from Corputia, there are a lot of training you can do from SANS, there are a lot of training, there are a lot of training providers who offer this kind of training that can actually help you. Though for you to also get a job, you need to have certifications. It's not just about the training. I see a lot of people, they're trying to get a big role and they come to me that I just finished this free training. I'm like, wow, this is not going to make you competitive out there. You need to do this real exam, this real certification. You can't go and say you're doing a free training and then you get a free certificate and you want to use it to compete with someone who is going to invest dollars, thousands and hundreds of dollars to sit down for hours to write an exam. They will prefer that person before you. So there's a place of investment, no doubt about it. There's a place of experience, no doubt about it. And also there's a place where you have to create time. A lot of people spend time on the internet, but when you give that time to knowledge in this particular domain, you're going to go a very long way.
Thank you. I think I've finished my question. I will go to the question that people are asking. So one person is asking, how do I get the recording? Yeah, the recording is on YouTube. I will share the link in case you missed it earlier. So there's a question here. Let me see. Yes. I don't know if Daisy is asking, yeah, but it said, if the dark web is about 6% of the web and the deeper is about 90%, I doubt is this law enforcement agencies or Interpol can work together to bring this down, as it is the larger part of the internet. And why the need for larger organizations to work with other specialized bodies to assess that? Why are they working? Why can't they go directly? I guess that's what this is trying to find out.
How do I put it now? So it's like a war. You're going for a war, so you need specialized people to go, people who are trained. It's not just ordinary people. So when you talk about the dark web, it's a special environment. In fact, it's a very dangerous environment. Let me put it this way. And I think the internet has been so good that there's a particular section of the internet, which is the layer, which is the surface web itself, which you are not interacting, and then we're doing all sort of things. But this particular area, I mean, how do I put it now? I didn't mean I'm in Nigeria. I would say, okay, just put it like this side of Lagos Island, where things are happening. But I mean, I don't know how to paint it globally now, because I know that I'm speaking with different set of people. So I don't know how to put it now.
It's
Maybe I
better.
should say
It's better.
Las Vegas. Maybe I should say like one side that is very bad in Las Vegas. It's a whole country, but there's this part that is very, very bad, that things happen. You're on your own. So that is the reason why, really, I mean, it's about achieving your objective. So if organization is achieving their objective on the surface web, so why would they go down to the dark web? What do they want to go and do there? That's why they have given it to those people who are specialized. Okay, if things are happening there, give us information. We are paid. You are being paid. Then let us know. They will know what to do.
Thank you. The next question is, I want to become a forensic, assuming I want to become a forensic investigator. Is it the same as penetration and ethical hacking? That's the question.
It's actually different. Though you need some knowledge of this, because if you don't understand what is ethical hacking, what is penetration testing, for you to be a forensic investigator, it will be difficult, because forensic investigator comes to investigate an incident or event, or an already occurred, maybe attack. So for you as a forensic investigator or analyst, you need to understand what happened, how it happened, and then how do you ensure that you're able to identify those things that have happened. And if at all you need to extend this to maybe a court of law, or you need to present it, you need to be able to know how to maintain that chain of custody to preserve your evidences. So when you talk about forensic investigation, is a very wide domain. And then you can also tailor it to this area of maybe threat hunting, where you want to be able to identify what happened, how the attacker came in, what they're able to steal, and then you'll be able to see all their traps, and you'll be able to identify and use it against them. So that is what makes it more interesting. So for you to become a forensic investigator, it's a different thing from penetration testing and ethical hacking. Okay, so it's a different certification, it's a different roadmap on its own. But if you have those two knowledge of ethical hacking and penetration testing, it helps you to be able to know what are those things that you need to detect, what are those things you need to identify, and then it will help your investigation more appealing and then more comprehensive.
Thank you. So there's a question around how do you identify genuine YouTube? I think I'll probably just take that. You can just do some background check in terms of some people, so one thing about creating video is commitment. You would not find someone who doesn't know what he's doing stay on YouTube for 6 months or 1 year and keep churning out content. So you can do that. If you see only one content, maybe you want to be careful. But if you see 20, 30, 40, and they are producing this thing with some level of commitment, then we can rely on them. The second thing also, you can check. You don't consume information from one source. You can see what this guy is saying and see what this guy is saying and compare and see the one you stick with. At the end of the day, you probably have very few that you'll be looking at. Like there was some weeks back, one of our member here did a research on security security podcast, and I haven't shared the number, but I think a lot of them. I zero in about 2, and today, almost every other day in the week, there are some specific ones that resonate with me because I could resonate with what they are saying. So you don't need a lot, but just focus on the ones that have shown commitment to the discipline, and you can research the person that is making it, check their qualification and their experience. It will tell. Solomon is asking, he said, what role do VPN and tunneling play in protection when accessing the dark web? Good question.
Yeah, that was a good question. Yeah, it's play a very strong role. I mean, very deep role. Security, privacy, and anonymity. But however, I mean, for me, from experience, is not super secure. So with that, there are some on your website, there are some dark web website which you can actually access with that, but that might not really give you that deep connection, because when you need to really access the dark web, you need to use some form of Tor network. Tor network is like an onion router, so it's a specialized web browser for you to be able to access the dark web. Also, you can also look at maybe Tails. There's a software called Tails. Tails is more like an OS, open source OS on its own, which you can also use that to do. But again, there's a very, very simple one called Brave browser. With Brave browser, you can always turn on your Tor network, and then it will give you accessibility to the dark web. However, the place of VPN and proxy, they are also very, very good. But again, if you're looking for that privacy, you're looking for security, you're looking for anonymity, you might not really get it except you use those encrypted tunneling software and application.
Thank you. If you don't mind, Yemi, if you can just some of those spellings are dark. Can you help us put light and type those tools that you mentioned? If you can just help us type, so let's bring them to the surface. All right. Okay, someone is asking, so I just asked a question, Daisy. All right, I think I've gone through all the questions here, and I must thank you for the time. I know it's past time, our time where you are, and thank you for the commitment, for sharing with us in this forum. So if you still have questions, you can drop. I want to just wrap up because it should be done in the next 3 to 5 minutes. So our next edition will be November 24th. So we've at least touched Darkweb today. We will be hosting another personality by 24th. I will correct the time. So if you joined this meeting 5 o'clock, sorry, it will be 6 o'clock the next time. I will correct that. I missed up my time zone. So I will share it in the new flyer. So we'll be having someone come share with us something around GRC, and I'm sure you will love it. I see a lot of people interested in GRC. That's the end of our session for today, and thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining. We will see you again by 24th of November 2024. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Wale, for having